Today is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2015, and today's rant will be on the seismic tectonic shift in the Republican Party in the last 5 days. So we all know that 9 African American citizens of the United States of America were slaughtered on Wednesday night. And the issue of the flag, the Confederate flag that's flying next to the State House in South Carolina started to become an issue either sometime Thursday or early Friday. We saw that Mark Sanford, the former governor of South Carolina, stumbled over it. Jeb Bush stumbled over it. Scott Walker stumbled over it. Lindsey Graham stumbled over it because of the horrendous thing that had happened. They were testing the political winds, and they did not know how to respond to those political winds. And somewhere along the line, someone in the Republican Party, someone in the state of South Carolina Republican Party said that this shit has got to stop. Now, I don't know who it was, and I'm not sure how it happened, but when when the governor of South Carolina sat there and said that this flag must come down on Monday afternoon, something very traumatic, dynamic had shifted in the Republican Party. So let's go back to Thursday or Friday when the issue of the flag, I keep thinking Haley Barbour, Nikki Haley is the governor of South Carolina, when this started becoming an issue. All of these Republican candidates were stumbling over the issue of the flag. Now remember, before that slaughter, none of that would have come up. It probably wouldn't even come up in the South Carolina primary because it would have just been considered a state's issue and they all would have flossed over it. So they all started stumbling over it. And someone in the Republican Party saw that this was going to be an issue, this was going to be an issue for a long time, and that this was going to hurt the Republican Party in the general election. They really didn't care about South Carolina, in my thinking, because South Carolina is traditionally a red state, and that whatever the decision was in South Carolina, it wouldn't make a big difference in South Carolina voting in the general election. But it could be a dramatic thing that all of these candidates have stumbled over the issue of the flag in South Carolina, and that in itself could be a big issue in the 2016 election. So somewhere along the line, things happened to change. So remember, Nikki Haley almost stumbled over it herself at the beginning. So somewhere, let's just say Friday, there started to be, and I mean started to be, a lot of discussion within the Republican Party. Rice Previs, who is the head of the Republican National Committee, people all over the Republican operatives all over the United States, Nikki Haley in South Carolina, all of her operatives in the State House were having all of these behind the door, closed door, telephone conversations, whatever you want to call it, as to whether or not this was an issue and we should get rid of it now. Or let it become a heartache to us later on, because we can't just let it dither. We have to cut this out. It was metastasizing terribly, and they saw that. So what happened over the weekend? What happened over the weekend is that Nikki Haley and her operatives went behind the scenes. They basically strong-armed or talked to every Republican state and House representative in the state of South Carolina. I got them to agree that this is what we're going to do. Rice Previs and all of his operators were talking to South Carolina all over the place. How are we going to make this right? How are we going to make this right? And of course on Monday, they made it right. Now, the symbolism of the flag was also, of it being there, is a symbol of the Old South. Now, the symbolism that Nikki Haley had at her press conference was also very significant, because directly to her right was Representative Clyburn of South Carolina. Directly to her left was Senator Scott of South Carolina, both African Americans. Next to Scott was Lindsey Graham, the other senator from South Carolina who was running for president, who stumbled all over this, which meant that they were in 100% agreement with her. Behind, I believe, Graham was Mark Sanford, the former governor of South Carolina, now a representative of South Carolina. And the reason why I know that this was all going on in the Republican circles was because Rice Previs was in the background also. When I saw him, even before someone mentioned it, I said, whoa, something's going on here. Now, when Nikki Haley finished her press conference, the first one she hugged was a black representative of South Carolina, Clyburn. Now, this is a seismic shift. This is a teutonic shift. This is a Mount St. Helens shift from the Republican Party, indicating that they may still do that wink and a nod in some of the state houses, in some of the representative areas, in terms of their going along with, let's just say, hate groups, South Carolina, all over the South, who are white supremacists or want to have the United States of America be totally represented by those of European descent. So that is a seismic shift, meaning that for years and years and years, the Republican Party did their wink and nod and allowed that stuff to go on. They didn't necessarily always acknowledge it. And of course, Dylan, the young gentleman who did the slaughtering, was influenced by a CCC, conservative something. I'll have to look it up. I forgot it offhand. And the guy who runs that, an avowed racist, because that's what he is, had given money to Ted Cruz. I believe he had given money to a couple others. Ted Cruz indicated that he would give that money to the church where those people were slaughtered, which was very good. I don't know if Scott Walker got money. I can't remember offhand. There were 3 or 4 other people that got some money from him. And now that they're disavowing it, again, a seismic shift in the Republican Party. And the reason why I'm bringing it up and the reason why it's so significant right now is that we are on the precipice of possibly 2 more seismic shifts in the Republican Party. Is one on the ACA Act, the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obummercare, which a decision may come out by next Thursday, I believe, 2 days, or by a week from Thursday. And it doesn't make any difference what the Supreme Court does. If it supports the Obama administration, then the Republicans technically have been let off the hook. They don't have to make any big decisions. But basically it sort of says Obamacare is the law of the land, and they're going to have to begrudgingly accept it, at least for a couple more years. Even though they might, but they're going to have to accept it for now. That's the whole thing. And the second thing is on gay marriage, and we expect the gay marriage thing to allow gay marriage. Now, some of the candidates from the Republican Party for president want to enact, a constitutional amendment. But then again, that's not up to the president. That would be up to the states. And the states are going to be firmly against that, because you will not get 3/4 of the states against gay marriage. So, as I said, I believe this is a seismic, teutonic, Mount St. Helens shift in the Republican Party, starting with the actions today in terms of bringing that flag down. And it could continue with the Affordable Care Act, which is going to, number one, put the Republicans on the hot seat right away if it goes in their favor, and it's going to absolve them in the other way, but it'll legitimize Obamacare even more. And the gay marriage issue, which is something that most of them are all against. Again, if the Supreme Court legitimizes it, they're going to have to begrudgingly accept it. And that is going to be a seismic shift from the hardcore right positions that all of these candidates need to take to win the nomination, and then have to switch back over for the general election. So let's see if these large shifts are going to continue.